Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
What'd you guys think about that game? Cincinnati, they came out, and I don't know about you, the second that I saw Ja'Marr Chase just start talking smack about the Elf, he found out, and they took a big L. I mean, I couldn't ask too much more for an opener myself. I would like to see Deshaun Watson throw for 400-something yards like Tua, but we got the W. We are the more physical team, and we just made them shut their mouths, hopefully, for once. I mean, although Ja'Marr Chase opened it up again right after.
Yeah, you know what? Anytime you win the opener, that's a big deal to me. And I think we saw a lot. There's been a ton of discourse on Twitter, X, whatever you call it now, just about how like Browns fans are celebrating, and I honestly think that's justified. I think the Bengals have won the division the last 2 years. They've been in the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship the last 2 years. They're a good team, and so I think it's a acknowledgement of that. Like I don't care if it's week 1. I don't care if it's just 1 of 17. Anytime you can get that win, and we know that better than anybody because our home opener record is abysmal, right? So you can turn that on its head. You come out, you play great defense. You make Ja'Marr Chase look like an idiot. That's a big win to me. I'm a happy camper.
Kev?
I mean, you have to be a happy camper coming out of that. I mean, Jay, you know that I've been the person that has been saying they have to prove it to me as much as people don't want to necessarily hear that all the time. We can have a great roster all we want, but if we don't go out there and actually put the product out there, now some may argue that it's against Cincinnati. We always have Cincinnati's number. Let's see it against someone else. I'm not going to be – that's not the type of person, prove it to me person I'm going to be. Like they're going to have to prove it to themselves all year long, but they showed something in that game. And I think exactly what a lot of us have talked about. Defensively, they came out right from the start. And as much as the system is new, the players know each other, add some new pieces around them. You still haven't seen Juan Thornhill in that safety position as he works his way back from injury. And so there's going to be more depth on the back end as well. You got guys like Zadarius and Miles getting home, but then other players, Obo and the defensive tackles doing what they needed to do. There were times that Joe Mixon got loose, but guess what, guys? It's the NFL. Teams are going to score points. So to hold a team to 3 points, you can talk about Joe Burrow's injury, and it's going to be a whole different game when we get to Cincinnati later on in the season towards the end of it. And he's probably going to be a better quarterback at that point. But look, you did what you're supposed to do. A quarterback that hadn't worked in the preseason, hadn't gotten any work with his team as much as they've known each other for a long time. You took advantage of that. Defense set the tone, and the offense did what they needed to do. Was it pretty? Was it what you want from a $230 million quarterback fully? No, but I think it's okay that you can come out, win a game, have those criticisms, constructive criticism type pieces. It feels a lot better when the coaches are going through that film and you win a game. So now it's let's stack these wins on top of each other. We're not, we'll talk about Pittsburgh here in a little while, but you feel good coming out of that game, but you don't feel great. And I think that is the greatest part. You feel good, but not great.
It's a coach's dream winning like that.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, great win, but we're going to watch film, and then I'm just going to rip you apart and tell you how much better you can do. And that's what you need, man. That's exactly what you need. I love that Zadarius Smith right off the rip, first play set the tone on that defense. Like he didn't get the sack, but he definitely when you hit quarterbacks, it starts making them think. They got to think a little faster. They're looking over their shoulder a little bit. It's on their mind, and you could see like they had Joe Burrow rattled all day long.
Yep. And you know what? So I would like to say, like I don't feel great about the where the offense was. I do feel great about Nick Chubb. That was a nice debut from him. But I certainly feel great about coming out of that game about the defense. I think we have been waiting and saying for a long time now, like, this defense is so talented, they should be good. And even in the final game of the year against Pittsburgh last year, you still saw guys throwing their hands up, not knowing where they needed to be, and just really not being able to maximize their talent and their potential.
Well,
And
the secondary looked like day and night from week 1 or
Yeah.
last year to this week.
you saw them communicating, and like I think my biggest takeaway is if they can rattle. I mean, Joe Burrow's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Well, he's the highest paid player in the NFL, and Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, that they're probably the best wide receiver trio. I feel like if you can shut down Cincinnati's offense, you can shut down it's not going to go like that every week. I understand that. But the point is to have such a dominant performance against a guy who, I mean, Joe Burrow's been hit more than almost any quarterback in the league since he entered it. And he gets so rarely rattled. And I think there was a really good example. There was a play where Joe was just tossing a screen pass to Mixon, and he hand pushes the ball, right? And like you just and that play ended up as an incompletion. But it's just you could see that he was rattled. And if you can rattle that guy, if you can get under that guy's skin,
you rattled Joe Cool.
Yeah. And just the other piece is like, there were a lot of people that tried to poo-poo trading for Zadarius Smith and like, well, where did his production go in the second half of the year? Well, he had an injury. But I think it was an endorsement of the fact that like that guy is still a disruptor. He's still I think he was the highest graded. No, Grant Talbot was, but he was in the top 3 of the defenders of the Browns from Sunday. And I just think it's a really good sign about what's to come from this defense and their ability to get pressure, especially outside of Miles, because last year we saw how that went without Garrett, and that was not pretty.
The one thing we keep we're like, oh, the defense is defense, and we're like, the offense has got improvement. The one thing about the offense that I did like, at 1, they scored 24 points.
Yep.
2, they adjusted. Like, how many times were like, why weren't they running Nick Chubb there? They're like, all right, clearly these conditions suck to throw the ball.
Yep.
Let's hand it off to our workhorse, Nick Chubb. And they even let Jerome Ford come in there. He had some good runs. So at the end of the game, Nick Chubb looked fresh, and the Bengals defense just looked completely gassed, and they controlled the clock a lot of the time and kept Joe Burrow off the field.
Well, and let me add to that with the Watson run to the end zone, 4 guys stacked on the far side of the field, only 1 guy on the near side. He read that well to go get the touchdown. I wonder what other options are off of that formation, because that they're going to show it again, and teams are going to think Watson's running it. He may fake, but what type of routes are coming out of that? So I think you got a chance to just see a glimpse of what Kevin Stefanski is building around Deshaun Watson. And I think from a football standpoint, that was we didn't see that in those 6 games. As bad as it was, and you wanted to see more out of it last year, he was running the Jacoby Brissett structured offense. So it's going to take some time. I mean, Marquise Goodwin just gets in there after a week of practice. I mean, this is a week of practice. It's not training camp where they're going full go and stuff like that. So the timing of those routes, those deep balls are there. People have been complaining about this offense doesn't throw deep enough. Well, Deshaun, I know, is going to tell you, I should have hit those. I should have hit Marquise Goodwin running down the seam because he's open. And I'm leaving him just hanging up in the air. Like, he'll criticize himself. We have to understand, unfortunately, Goodwin wasn't there, and it's a blessing in itself that he's able to be out there with the blood clots. On the defensive side with Zadarius Smith, Nick, I don't know why people were going against the move to do that or anything like that. Like, it never made any sense to me, because Zadarius Smith is what we wanted Jadeveon Clowney to be, but Clowney was too much about Clowney and not about team. Smith is about, hey, I am here to help Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a Hall of Famer. Yes, there's going to be things called for him to be a Hall of Famer, but I can also put my name attached it to Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns and the success we have this year by going out and showing that what I've done in the past is not just a fluke. I can do it in multiple different places. I can do it from multiple different positions. And it's not about, like, I don't care that Myles Garrett's going to get the headline, because he should. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. Smith is not thinking about Smith. Smith is thinking about the Browns. Myles Garrett is thinking about the Browns. Jadeveon Clowney was always thinking about Jadeveon Clowney. And that's part of his downfall, along with his injuries, of why the number 1 pick, he hasn't lived up to that, but he has shown talent in his time, and why it didn't work here was because, again, he was just about Clowney, and we had too many guys that were just about themselves and not about team. And for this team to have success, each individual of the 53 and the practice squad and the coaches, the equipment staff, it's all got to be about team and not each individual.
I got to give a shout out to my fellow number 22, Grant Delpit.
Ooh.
What a game by him. He was everywhere, man. He is finally looking like the safety that we thought we were going to get out of LSU when we drafted him. And unfortunately, tore his Achilles.
Yep.
Like, that sucks. Trust me. I know. We just watched Aaron Rodgers tear his. And to come back and he's finally starting to get real used to it, like trusting it. Because it's a physical battle, Nick. Like, the rehab is just grueling. But you got to learn to trust your body again. It's more mental than physical. And I was so happy to see him out there just flying around, picking up where he left off last year. I don't know how many tackles he had, but it was a bunch. And I know he had a really high grade average.
He led the team in tackles.
Oh, yeah, he definitely led the team in tackles.
And you know what? I can remember how excited we were when the Browns drafted him, and there was a lot of talk that was like, oh, well, Grant could have been a first round pick. And the Browns really got this value, and then it's like he immediately tears his Achilles, and so you don't get to see it then, and you know how hard that. I mean, firsthand how hard that injury is to come back from. So the fact that now it's really looking like that's probably the biggest reason I'm excited is just you always knew the talent was there on defense, and to see them really be able to shine and do so in dramatic fashion was awesome. I just like. I don't remember what the term is for it, but Jim Schwartz has a name for guys that don't celebrate each other when they make good plays, and like I saw that was going around, and so like you can see it. It's like whenever something good happens, like they're celebrating each other, and there's all this talk about like leadership and culture and all this type of stuff that people have tried to knock Stefanski for. Well, I can tell you that it certainly looks like Jim Schwartz is bringing that type of mentality. And so maybe it doesn't need to necessarily come from the head coach. Maybe all you need is to have that force in your locker room.
He needed a yin to his yang because he's a player's coach.
Yeah.
And Jim Schwartz is not that he's not a player's coach, but he's that fiery guy that'll just demand it out of you. Like, and I think Kevin Stefanski's more a cerebral guy and like, all right, what do you want to do? Like, how can I work with you? Or Jim Schwartz is like, we're doing it this way, and this is how you do it the right way. And you're going to do it 110% nonstop, and we're eating nails for lunch later.
If there's one thing I can't stand is, like, I enjoy watching other teams' Twitter videos from their locker room more than I enjoy watching the Browns ones because, like Kevin Stefanski just isn't that guy. I don't know. Like it feels cringe to me, but I don't care if that.
It's all like, Dan Campbell right now when it comes to those.
Yeah,
Dan Campbell, he's a goofball, but man, he's hilarious to watch, man.
He is. And sure, would you like all of it? All the characteristic and the personality and everything to go along with it? Sure. But you know what the number one thing is that we want to see? Wins. So if we have a guy that can't get hyped up and doesn't have necessarily a personality, but all the players still are playing for him, like he's doing something right if the team is doing what they're supposed to be doing and winning.
I mean, you've seen him up and down the sidelines.
Right.
Yeah.
He's going up and down the sidelines and Dan's like, they're going nuts.
I actually saw more from him this past weekend than ever before. Like he was getting after a referee in that game. And I had not seen that. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, there was a close up of him getting after a referee. So I saw a lot more fire in him. So I feel like everybody in that locker room and in Berea just feels something different this year, and we just.
What I got to give it to somebody else. I got to give a game ball to the fans, man.
Oh man,
they brought it that game. Nick, did you go?
I did go.
Yeah, they were loud. They were loud there, like nonstop.
Like Garrett Sack had to be the loudest that stadium's been in a long time.
Even though it was just nonstop rain the entire time, which was miserable because by halftime I was completely drenched.
Yep.
I'm like, well, I ain't getting no wetter. Yeah. I'm just gonna get colder.
Yep.
But yeah, everyone was just loud nonstop, and I'm just gonna give that one to me.
There you go.
On my motivational speech Friday night at Forward that I never got to see yet, but I know it was awesome, and I let them know.
You know what?
I know.
It wasn't pleasant being soaked all game long, I'll
No.
tell you. And it's funny because you talk to anybody from the surrounding suburbs, it was sunny there. We just had a giant, I don't even know, like effect, just rain that and you were thinking it was like, oh, maybe this is gonna move out. No, it just misted all game.
It was like the hardest drizzle I've ever experienced. I don't know how to like describe the rain. It was just annoying as all hell. And then they ran out of ponchos when I went to go buy one, of course.
Oh well, yep, they did run out of ponchos. That was.
It is what it is.
I just want to just a couple things. But as regarding Stefanski, I really liked from him two pieces of this. Number one, Deshaun obviously struggles as a passer, so I get that. But we saw the passes that fell at guys' feet were open, right? And so, like, people have questioned his play calling and just his offense and his ability to do this. I saw open receivers yesterday, and I do think I know the Bengals have some young guys in their secondary because they lost their safeties. I get that, but I do think the Bengals have a pretty good defense, and the fact that you're seeing guys are open. I loved. I know it wasn't complete to Marquise Goodwin, that trick play where they shifted Chubb over and direct snap to him, give it to Watt. Stefanski always has a trick in his bag, and I love that he uses it. And the final thing there is you could see that they had a game plan where they wanted to air the ball out. They were going to throw it, and I get that. That makes a lot of sense because, like I said, you have lots of young guys in the secondary. But when the weather was changed the field and the conditions, he adapted and he ran the hell out of the ball. Excuse me, and I love that from him. I love
that one's okay.
Okay, good.
He was warned we don't really swear
yeah,
too much
yeah.
on this show.
All I know is he showed adaptability. He showed his offense looked good to me. You scored 21 points. You had 2 turnovers to none, so you could have scored a lot more points. I think this is going to be the year that Stefanski shows that he is the coach for this job and that he has a good offense and he has gotten the most out of his previous 2 quarterbacks. I think that's my flag plant is that Stefanski's going to be a ringing endorsement of him as a coach this year.